Welcome back, everybody. I'm Sean Zubor, and today I'm with Mike Juri from Best Coast Inspections, right?
Good morning.
And so today is going to be the first time actually we've had a non-realtor on the podcast. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Yeah, this guys, I'm a home and commercial inspector here based out of the Tri-Cities, serving the whole lower mainland. How detailed do you want me to get? And
How long have you been doing it for?
since 2017. Yeah.
2017.
2017 started the schooling. Really, it was full time during the pandemic, 2020. 2020 when the market took off.
Busy times.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to join a company, really hone my skills, learn from the experienced inspectors there, and just
So when did you start Best Coast?
2017. Yeah.
Oh, you started Best Coast in
Yeah,
2017.
yeah, that's when the company was formed. While I was still in school, I
Gotcha.
was in school, doing my education. Was part time. Real license like 2018. Became licensed, but was really part time. I was working for the school board. Good pension, good wage. It was really hard to rip that Band-Aid off and go into inspections full time.
It's tough, man. Leaving, I guess one of the only benefits I've really had is since I've been 16, I've only ever been commission based or working for myself. But it's one of the biggest things I've ever talked to. Like every newer agent that transitions from a secure or that security blanket of like a great job, so on and so forth. It's a tough transition for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You're literally like, this is the saying, like you're burning the boats when you get to the island because there's no going back. Once you're doing your own thing, it's your company, it's all you.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions today because some of it obviously being on the market, but more importantly, obviously we have a lot of realtors and we have some end buyers and sellers that watch the podcast or listen to the podcast. So quick question for you. So if you could give me the number one issue that you find when you do inspections, like what's the one thing that if you're looking to sell your home, for example, and I know now it's the first time probably in 5 years I've had a couple clients do pre-inspections before selling their houses.
Smart.
What are some of the key things, or what's the number one thing that you find most people miss that's a pretty easy fix that they can make sure that it's going to make it a lot easier to sell or at least less hiccups during the subject removal process?
Yeah, I mean, here's a couple different answers to that question. I think like if we do 4-point inspections, they are popular down in the US for insurance. And the 4 points are essentially the roof, your plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. So as long as those components are functioning properly, the reason why we choose those 4 is that they are expensive. And if they're not working, it makes the home really uncomfortable to live in.
Fair enough.
So issues around those 4 components are usually what we find that can make closing the deal a little bit more difficult. The other things is just prepping the house before the inspector comes in or before you sell it. Like patches of drywall, holes, damage around the property, even though it's cosmetic, like most people coming in, they'll see that.
And you guys do a very detailed analysis of what's wrong with the home. So obviously everything gets put in there.
That's right.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that, like, especially these days where unfortunately due to the economy, due to whatever, a lot of people are basically spending every last cent that they have to get into their next house for their down payment or whatever it is. Right. So what we found, like some of the things that sell the best are homes that are 100% ready to go. So they may be even a little bit more expensive in comparison to a couple of the other places, but the clients just don't have that extra 5, 10, 15 grand to fix up things, right? So if the home is immaculate and ready to go and they don't have to do a drywall patch or do any of those kind of things, right? It definitely makes it a lot easier to sell. If you can, I know one thing too, like if you're looking to list your home, a couple of things to like look at that I kind of always prep my clients on is like, go take a look at the color of the hoses in your home. If you got gray and you got poly B, it's something to note, something to look at. Obviously, poly B houses sell all the time. And I'm going to pick your brain. It's everywhere, right? Yeah. And if I remember correctly, the most important thing is obviously that they've never had issues before, but that it's the connections or something, or copper
Yeah,
versus plastic.
you
or-
want the fittings to be copper. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's preferred as opposed to the plastic that
Gotcha.
they use. And there's multiple generations of poly B as well. You know, going back from the early '80s up to mid '90s when they decided no bueno, let's get rid of it and use something else.
Nice. So, okay. So if I'm going to list my house right now, and like I said, this is something obviously in 2021, from what I heard, you guys were obviously busy, but it was almost a little bit less busy in certain cases because people didn't even have an opportunity to do an inspection. And if they did, it was like during an open house before they even wrote an offer or something, right?
Like 4 inspectors on scene when it showed up.
Exactly. So if you could, let's talk about like the roof, for example. So I know most roofs these days have a 15 to 25-year warranty, something like that, right?
With maintenance for sure.
So if they're a 20-year roof, right, is that something that a client should automatically be thinking, hey, maybe I should replace this prior to selling? Or is it better to have you guys come along and be like, hey, man, like this roof is actually really good, or maybe just fix this part?
Yeah, it's all about getting the inspection completed. Boots on a roof, walking around, looking at flashings, looking at like penetrations around like plumbing vents, chimneys, but also getting in the attic. Like the attic, and even as a homeowner, if you're agile enough, you have the ladder, pop the hatch with a flashlight, take some photos just to see like, because, the health of the roof can be determined by what's inside the attic. Like prime example, during all that rainstorm, roof looked pretty good. It's about 15 years old. And when I got in the attic, like there's actually water dripping off the nails.
Oh no.
Into the attic space below.
And that's one of the things too. Like, I think one of the good, one of the benefits of doing a pre-inspection is like obviously there's a cost associated with it, $500, $600, $700, whatever it may be, or more, depending on the house. But the reality is you can preemptively fix a lot of those things, and things like, I've had a bunch of houses that I've sold over the years, probably a couple dozen, like that many, that have had some sort of mold in it in the past. Before they changed the roof and so on and so forth. And I think it's important because the reality is when you hear the word mold, rightfully in many cases, people are like absolutely scared shitless of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it is in a lot of cases as well a pretty easy remediation, right? Like even in the worst case scenario, I remember I had to have a roof changed and I had to bring a remediation team in there, and they basically scraped everything, then sprayed it or whatever. And it was relatively like the actual remediation, I think it was only a couple grand. Like it wasn't millions of dollars, right? But when every single buyer came in there and they had interest, we just told them, I'm like, hey, just so you know, you're going to see some black stuff because that's just a stain or whatever it was, right? But it's been completely, here's the warranty, here's the certificate, everything. Versus, you go in there, sell, get an accepted offer, they go in there, and then who knows what the other inspector is going to say or whatever the scenario might be, right? So
as long as there isn't moisture, constant moisture in that area, the mold won't thrive.
Yeah.
Right. So you just clean it off, get some Kills paint over it.
Yeah.
You probably see that white. It just looks like white paint.
Gotcha.
Over top of it, it'll get rid of it. The other thing too, and we noticed, like if we look at our numbers from last year, we did quite a few indoor air quality and mold tests.
Okay, so you guys do the actual tests itself?
We do, yeah. We'll do air quality with the cartridges. We'll take air sample in a room, send it to a lab, or we'll do swabs if we actually see visual mold.
So with mold, because I've heard this a couple times too while we're on that topic, like 50% of it is from a leak or something like that, but a lot of it, or even more, is from just improper ventilation.
That's correct. Right? Yeah.
And so tell me about that as well, because people might think, hey, I have no leak in my roof. Like, how does this even happen? Right? How did I get mold up there?
Yeah. Without getting too scientific and nerdy, like warm air will always travel to a cold spot. Like that's why you need proper ventilation to exhaust that warm air, like in an attic space or even around like older windows. You'll see like sometimes in the frame there'll be that gross like blackness. That will collect. It's because you need to have the exhaust going, fans pushing that air out. Because especially in an attic space or any area, the warm air will hit that space, it condenses, and then you get that dark staining or growth develop.
Right now, that you guys are doing quite a few inspections now. Thankfully, the market is in a place where a buyer, seller, they can do pre-inspections. Every buyer, like I don't think maybe this in the last 6 months I've done one subject free offer and it was more or less land and it was multiple offers. So there's not a ton of them happening, right? What are you finding as still the most common issues that your buyers are facing? And what are some like the deal killers? Like what are you noticing people walking away from? Obviously everybody's a little bit more frantic and scared to pull the trigger on buying, especially in this market. But what are some of the deal killers that you're seeing right now?
If we look at strata complexes, we do quite a few townhouses and condos. Some of it has to do around depreciation reports, older depreciation reports, or just the numbers not really adding up. Yeah. Older buildings where there may be like membrane replacement coming up or a large capital expenditure. I've had a client, I believe, I think next week we'll be doing our third inspection for them. Wow. Because they're just trying to find that, they're downsizing, they're empty nesters. Yeah. They want to buy a place where there's not going to be anything major coming down the road.
So that's actually a great segue because I was going to ask you about depreciation reports because unfortunately it's not something that a lot of people talk about. And the reality is a lot of them are forecasting out like 30 years. I think it's 20 or 30 years. Yeah. Yep. And they're daunting. Like there's literally no depreciation report where you're not going to see like on a bigger complex, $20 million by the end of it needed an expense, something crazy like that. Mm-hmm. Right. So can you kind of walk us through depreciation reports? You guys then look through depreciation reports?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. That's huge. Mm-hmm. I think that in and of itself, if you're looking to buy any kind of stratified complex, especially a big, condo buildings, all of them really, what are some of the key things that you look for depreciation reports? And depreciation reports are generally, like, I'm just obviously as a realtor's perspective, from what I've been told, they're more or less guidelines based on the average lifespan of certain things, correct?
They are, yes.
Okay. So can you walk us through like some of the things that you should be looking at? What are red flags? What are some of the most important things when it comes to making sure that if you're buying a strata, you're covered, or at least what's coming up down the line?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, going back to the 4 points, I would say for strata, anything exterior related, new roof, new siding, drainage, hardscaping like concrete, cement work, electrical, plumbing, and the big one that we see, especially like with all the rain we had, is underground parking garages. The membrane concrete in between, the landscaping and the concrete below. We just have so much rainfall here that those things will eventually leak. They give them about a 25, 30-year lifespan. Yeah. And most stratas, they'll have maintenance where they're putting epoxy injections if there are leaks. But eventually, you got to rip that thing out, put a new one down, and those are like hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace.
So, and I cannot say this enough because I'm sure you come around this quite often too. I would say, well, I'll ask you, what's the percentage of stratas that allow you to go on the roof still, or go check out the boilers, or do any of those things?
Yeah, they're it's a combination of like some stratas that's mandated. No, absolutely not. Then it's like getting a caretaker, like arranging that, because you know how it is already, trying to set up like 2 realtors, inspector, the client. Now you got to get the caretaker. I have commercial background, so when they ask you where do you want to go, I'm like, show me everything. Yeah. I want boiler room, elevator room, mechanical, the roof. Sometimes the birds don't cooperate. Yeah, I had a couple seagulls like dive bombing me in the West End. I was like lit. Even the caretaker's like, "Do you want a broom?" And I'm like, I don't think I should just hop on this roof. I was like, hold my arm out. I'm like taking pictures of the roof. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say like it's pretty low. It's right? Pretty low for a roof, just because of the whole insurance thing.
Right.
But if I have access, I'll climb up that ladder and get on.
So if you, obviously common sense basically says if you don't have access to the roof, then your really only judgment is from outside down, right? Or down below, and the depreciation report.
Depreciation report, strata minutes, at least I'd say read at least 2 years worth of the strata minutes. Do your due diligence. And that's what our company's trying to do, is just help them with the due diligence. We'll skim through it. I know those numbers can be daunting for some people. And that gets back to things that we find, like, because people are paying so much money for their home, like it seems like every little thing, like you look on the wall or that little cosmetic stuff, that could be a big issue for someone.
Yeah.
And those like just patch it up.
Yeah.
You know?
And so when it comes to like the depreciation reports, because I think that's something that's definitely not talked about enough, and literally every single one of my clients, if I don't prep them properly, go over it and tell them, hey, the inspector's going to read this and so on and so forth, then even a good one is going to scare them, because everything has like 15 to 20 years. We need to replace everything pretty much, or 25 years or whatever it is. And it'll show like on a big complex, $15 million to redo, whatever it may be, or $5 million or a couple million, whatever it is, or hundreds of thousands. Now, when they look at a depreciation report and they say, okay, the average lifespan of this roof is 25 years, let's just say, right? Yep. And we're 15 years in, does that mean for sure that in 10 years they have to replace it? Or like, how does that, what do you see in general?
It does not. What I've learned from my experience is that the engineers and people that do the depreciation report, I'll probably get lots of flack for saying this, but they err on the side of caution.
For sure.
Like something may last but they're telling the strata, let's be more proactive and replace it earlier. Again, it all has to do with how that particular system is performing. Like one roof, they'll say 25 years, it'll be good after 30.
Yeah.
Other ones, depending on where they're facing or the maintenance that's been done, 15, 20 years,
right.
You start to develop issues with it.
So I guess one of the important things is obviously, as you kind of mentioned, depreciation report, read that, get somebody qualified like yourself to go over it, explain what are the possibilities, what's really likely to be the time frame for it. Mm-hmm. But then also like coincide that with the actual strata documents, look at the expenses, what are they actually fixing? What is their maintenance schedules like? Like, what are all the different things that they're doing to make sure that they're keeping with that? Mm-hmm. And I guess that kind of ensures the lifespan more or less, right?
I find lots of people, they'll look at the contingency fund and then they'll look at like the capital expenditures, 5, 10, 15 years. Like it's different for, like you said, those empty nesters that are planning to retire, live their whole life, as compared to like yesterday I had a first time home buyer and they're like, we're going to be here for 5 years before we upsize. Yeah. So we're not too concerned as long as there's nothing major in the 5 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the contingency fund is healthy, you see what's coming up. Maybe there may be a small levy. Yeah. People try to estimate what that levy is going to be like. You'll be okay.
And I think actually that brings me to that last point of kind of like the depreciation report. The one thing I do like about them too is usually at the end of them, they'll give you kind of 3 different ways to pay for it. More
the funding scenario.
The funding scenarios, right? So it's either like, okay, we're going to double the strata fees in the next few years, or we're going to not increase the strata fees and you guys are going to have a bigger assessments, or we're going to do a combination of both, like increase the strata fees by $50 and your assessments are going to be roughly X amount, right? So one of the things that I noticed, and this is kind of a prep for clients and everybody out there and for realtors that may not have dealt with as many strata in the past, is that unfortunately, and I've heard a ton of realtors say this, is that, the good thing about strata, what you're paying for in the strata is so you don't have to pay for the big chunk of the roof and you don't have to pay for so on and so forth. The reality of that is not the case. Like you're usually always going to have some sort of an assessment, but it should be, if properly managed, a big chunk of that should come from the CRF or the contingency fund, right?
That's right. Yeah. And that's part of the due diligence, right? Like, is the strata run properly? Yeah. I mean, again, from my experience and not boasting, but man, I could tell just from like, probably too, you drive up to a strata complex, as soon as you drive in, it's like, this place is pretty well run. Landscaping looks good. There's like, it's clean.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that. I think it was in November, I sold a condo and this place was, I think 18 years old. And it's 160 something units. So it's a decent size strata plan. And it only had $100,000 left in the contingency fund, right? Which is exactly what most of them thought, right? Yeah. But the reality is they literally just replaced everything. Roof, the whole 9 yards. So it's like understanding the history, reading the minutes, understanding. So the contingency fund is low, but literally everything is brand new in the house or in the condo building, right? So like they did elevators within 15 years, which is I think not really standard. Elevators, roof, they fixed some of the plumbing, so on and so forth, right? So I was like, I think they spent through the contingency fund almost $3 million or something like that, right?
We call those valuable discoveries in our reports, right? Like upgraded plumbing, newer electrical, you know, a newer boiler. Like those are good because they add value.
So, okay. So now more on like the detached homes, right? And like land. So one of the big things, like majority of my clients, not a majority, but a big chunk, I do like a lot of rural properties, homes on acreages. And so do you guys do some of the inspections where it comes to like septic and so on and so forth, or do you refer that out, or how does that work?
I'll refer it out. Yeah. Septic and well is not just based on, you know, where I'm located and in the area that I serve. I haven't had a lot. I do sewer scopes, and I know I was up Sunshine Valley and I accessed the cleanup for the sewer scope and accidentally dropped the camera into the septic tank. And it was like this. I brought it back. I'm trying to clean it before I got to clean the whole house smelled. But we have referral partners and contractors that will recommend for that.
And so what are like some of the things people should be aware of? Because especially like, obviously I'm in Maple Ridge right now, and this is where I live. And I sell homes anywhere from here to 100 Mile, like a lot of the acreages and guide outfitters and stuff like that. And I do realize, like, over the years I've learned so much by like, okay, what are some of the things that we should be looking for when it comes to properties in general, when it comes to acreages? What are some of the key things that they should make sure that they're putting in their subjects and they're making sure that are there
around acreage?
Around acreage specifically.
Sean, I mean, I'm trying to think for stuff like that. I mean, obviously, if you're going to have a septic system, if we go back to the septic and the well, water quality, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
For that. What's the age of the septic tank? When was it last serviced? Yeah. I think with regards to acreage, I've noticed lately lots of people want to know like square footage and exact like property lines and boundaries.
Okay.
So that would be, if you have to pay extra for that, that's something that I'd suggest that you get. But,
so like a survey or something like that?
Yeah. And also like, right of way easements, if there's like, if there's streams and waterways coming through your property, like,
and that's actually a huge thing that comes up every single time.
Yep.
Is definitely waterways, setbacks, because a lot of people don't understand that there might be a little tiny creek that looks like, your 10-year-old peed in the backyard kind of thing, right? And that's got a 30-meter setback or 15-meter setback or whatever, because it could feed some spawning river down the line or something like that. So these are things that, and especially when it comes to like, not that you don't get the usage of that property or if it's not worthwhile there, but like if you're looking to build a shop or something along those lines, extremely important to note for sure. So I'm assuming if you could say like, what is the percentage of condos versus detached that you guys do right now?
Dude, it seems like it's like 1 week we'll have a bunch of houses, 1 week condos. I think last year we were probably, if we group townhouses with condos, maybe 60-40.
Okay.
Yeah. For condos and townhouses.
It's a pretty even split though.
Yeah.
And so for houses, when you're going in to inspect for a house, right? Obviously you mentioned those 4 key pillars that you're looking for. When your clients go by, like maybe on an open house or something like that, are there things that they should be looking at? Obviously they should always get an inspector, 150%, but are there some key things that during an open house, when they're looking around, what are some of the features, the things that they should be looking at that they can just catch with their eye when doing the original showing or open house?
That open house or walkthrough? Yeah. I think I still tell people bring a flashlight. Let's carry like a little mini flashlight and just shine on the ceilings and walls. Sometimes you can see it's small stains that you wouldn't see with the naked eye. I think too is appliances. Man, I want my washing machine to be functioning. I mean, I'm not telling you to go around turning on people's like dishwashers and stuff like that, but that's what we will do. Yeah. But take a look at that, because if you have to go in and replace an older dishwasher, like it could be like $800, $1,000. Also, like what's, really it's just like looking for older things. Like, are there older sinks, older toilets, caulking inside the shower?
Yeah.
Right. The grout around the tiles, those things that could potentially, cause water to go where it shouldn't. Right.
Totally. And I think this is more for realtors watching is, and maybe we'll get you, I know we've had people and we'll get you into the brokerage just to kind of go over some of the timeline things. Cause I think this was really beneficial is based on the age of the home. Like I can't remember, but I think it's the 70s and 80s. There was a lot of aluminum wiring, right? Then you got the poly B, even some things like one of my clients that we just, they bought a place for their parents. One of the things that came up, and it came up during the inspection. This is the first time it's ever happened to me, or the first thing that made total sense is that it was they had regular like HVAC. It was regular furnace, furnace, etc. But it was slab floor, right? So, and all of the piping went through the concrete slab, so it's in the concrete slab, right? So to replace any of that, or if you have any issues, it's an absolute nightmare. You literally have to like pound out the concrete, right, to be able to get into it, right? And this was something that came up. So, and we saw 3 homes of the specific vintage. I think it was like the late 80s, early 90s, that they built a lot like this. Now, most of the newer stuff and what he got has a crawl space in it. So it's all underneath, right? Which is a lot easier to access. But I think things like that are important. And if your client or if the client themselves are like very, very adamant in telling you, hey, we want to renovate this place. Like we want to add extra sinks. We want to, change out the kitchen and maybe change the sink from there to there and, add a bathroom or whatever it is. Understanding where all the plumbing is and how easy and accessible it is to actually do these things is huge. Because if you got to, drill or pound out all of the concrete to move something, all of a sudden your expenditure is going to triple. You know what I mean?
And we will make suggestions. We have those questions during our walkthrough all the time. What we did last year is we really focused on building our contractor base, being a local Coquitlam guy in the Tri-Cities. Like we focus on bringing in contractors. Shout out BNI Tri-Cities, which I helped launch a few years ago. So we can, based on what we find in our report, there's a link to click on that company and they can fire off an email to get a quote or get more questions answered if I can't answer them.
And I know you do this as well. And obviously it's not a gray area, but it's obviously something that is more of a rough estimate type of thing. I think it's important.
Prices?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I think it's super important because I tell every single one of my clients when I sit down for a original like buyer's presentation and kind of go over the buying process that there's no such a thing as a perfect home. Like it doesn't exist, right? Even brand new. Like majority of my business is project marketing. And when we do walkthroughs, like there's a reason why we have the green stickers. And honestly, this is as the guy that represents the seller for these projects, I'll highly recommend get an inspector for a brand new place. Yes, you have a 2-5-10 warranty.
Love this guy. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Say it. Yes.
But the reality is that I've had, how many times I've had, and it's the stupidest stuff. It just happens. It's just part of building where I've had in a kitchen, the sink not connected to the drainage, right? So literally they turn the taps on when they move in and the place is flooding. That's happened to me twice over the last like 13 years, which is crazy. And really an inspector would catch that, right? So why not? And when you've,
hopefully they look under the sink when they turn the water.
Hopefully, exactly, right?
We almost got burned with the dishwasher drain that wasn't connected.
Yeah.
So that's part of our procedures now. So before you turn on the dishwasher, make sure that the hose is connected to the sink.
Well, it's just small things that people miss, right? And a lot of people go into saying, "Well, I'm buying something brand new. It has warranty. It's brand spanking new. Why would I get an inspection?" It's because everybody's human, and we make mistakes and miss things and so on and so forth. And I tell my clients, like, listen, when you move in, you're going to spend $2, $3, $4, $5 grand getting your movers in there. You're going to set up your place beautifully. And then you want to find out that something's not connected, and then they got to tear out
Yeah.
stuff, move stuff, so on and so forth. So it's not that they're not going to fix it; they will fix it, but might as well get it fixed before you move in,
Like-
not after.
And I think it's all about setting expectations. I mean, I'm like you. I like nice stuff.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna go pay like $100,000 or $120,000 for a nice car,
Yeah,
like I want it to be like when I pick it up, I want it to be spick and span, spotless.
mint. Yeah.
You know, just like when people are spending like the largest purchase of their life, you know, they're expecting it to be perfect, and unfortunately, it's not going to be like that.
Yeah, and
everything can be fixed though.
Exactly.
Everything can be fixed.
Exactly. It's just, when do you want to fix it? After you're already there or prior to it?
You want to know about it,
And to spend that, whatever it is, few $100 to find out prior, it's a lifesaver. I think it's an absolute no brainer. And the reality is, a lot of the things like, and obviously every builder is different. Every builder's crew is different, right? So quality of every build is different. So brand new doesn't necessarily equate to the exact same thing for each one. And some of those things you might not find out for 5 years, because it takes 5 years for the damage to accumulate, right? And then your warranty's done, right?
You knew me when I first started.
Yeah.
Now I'll show up at like a new build, and the builder is waiting on the step for me, and he's like, everything's good. I don't expect you to find much. And I'll look him straight in the eye, and I'm like, I'm inspector. I'm trained to find things. I will find things on this house, but don't worry about it. We're going to send the report to the client. They'll forward it to you.
Yeah.
We'll get everything fixed.
Well, and I think too, like, this is more on the realtor side, is I think having an inspector that you trust, and like, this is going to sound like it's based on like commission or greed or whatever, but it's not that at all. The thing is you want an inspector that can say, hey, this is the issue and this is the remedy. And when I say cost, like I'm not saying like, oh, it's going to be $2,750. Like, you're not quoting the job to get done, but you can give realistic ranges. It's going to be $2,000 to $4,000 to fix this or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Because once again, it's the clients are wanting an assurity that they know that, okay, when I get into this home, this is going to get fixed, right? Mm-hmm. Or better yet, when your inspection comes, then your realtors, you're going to come to them and be like, hey man, there's roughly, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. Not a big deal, common issues. It is, because we have to replace the furnace and so on and so forth, it is going to be about $7,000, $5,000 to $10,000, something like that. That gives the opportunity for the agent to go back to them and be like, hey man, my client is kind of tapped out at purchasing at this price point, right? Mm-hmm. There's about a $10,000 fix in it. Either you guys fix it prior to us moving in, or we negotiate that price point off, one or the other, right? Exactly. So I think that's an important thing to note. I mean, I see some realtors take complete advantage of it, and they're like, oh, you need a furnace, so I want $20,000 off or something like that. Yep. Or I had somebody say they needed $50,000 off for the roof, and I got my roofer by there, and he's like, yeah, it's a $21,000 job, right? Yep. So it's a double-edged sword,
and it's newer, it's uncharted, because in 2020 when things were hot, no one was ever asking about price, because they knew it's like, you're getting the house as is. The market's just that hot, but now there's a little bit of
and you see that pushback now, like especially on pre-sales, where you have some buildings, 40% of them aren't completing because they bought it during the crazy peak, right? Now the prices have gone down. They bought it for $600,000. They'll only finance $500,000 of it, right? Mm-hmm. So they have to come up with an extra $100,000. So now, like, any buffer that people had to fix things, improve things, renovate things is gone, right? So I think getting that inspection and making sure that everything, you know what to expect, is one of the most important things. And we're lucky, and I tell everybody, like, this is, and it sounds like the typical realtor sales guy thing to say, but if you're scared of this market, this is not the market to be scared of. The market that you should have been scared of was in 2021.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? When you didn't have the opportunity to do anything, and you're buying blind.
No.
Right?
Oh yeah. And I had quite a few inspections where people would call me after they took possession, like on moving day. It's like, hey, can you come inspect this place? And I'm just like, okay, here we go. You know, and there's like leaks all over, mold growth, you know, all things, but they got their house, you know. So here's the list. Here's your maintenance items, you know. And of course, the reports are always categorized like important, moderate, you know, minor maintenance items.
So now, kind of a little bit on the market side, what are you noticing on the inspection side? Like, have your guys's, are you doing more pre inspections? Are you doing like how's business for you guys in general?
Yeah.
With the market that we're in.
You know, we're always growing. We're constantly growing. You know, last year was our highest year. This year we're projected to do a lot more. And when we first started, because our schedule wasn't full, we pivoted and we decided to offer other services instead of just your home inspection. I went, got a sewer camera, did the course, mold, indoor air quality testing. So that helped increase, you know, our ticket average. But yeah, we're seeing like, you know, we're expecting this year. I mean, it's Vancouver, the market, you know, we were talking before, we got on camera. You can only control like what you can control, which is you and how you run your business. And you know, with that being said, like I think that this year is going to be a good year.
Yeah.
I think can it get worse than last year?
Never know, but I don't.
We got wood around here to knock on. Like, yeah,
exactly.
No, I'm confident that it'll be good. It'll be good. Year.
What are you noticing? Like one of the things that you just mentioned that stuck out that would never happen in 2021, for example. I mean, I think people need to realize 2021 was an absolute abnormality. That's may or may not ever happen.
It was bananas.
It was crazy, right? Like, and we had the ultimate combo. You had COVID, so you had nothing to do, nowhere to go. You couldn't do anything, etc. Interest rates at pretty much 0%. Like I have one of my houses on a 7-year fixed at 1.8%, which is insane. So
7 years,
7 years. Yeah. It's funny for myself, and I'll just random is obviously being commission. My income's variable, right? Being a entrepreneur, your income's usually pretty variable. Yep. So my debts, if I have any, I want them fixed. So I know exactly what I'm going to be paying, and it's never going to be at least I have some stuff based on it. So the funny thing is when I got locked in the 3 of my mortgages in 2021-ish at like 2-ish or less percent, give or take, now obviously there's double or triple that interest rate. So I won then. But the funny thing is, if you look over the last like 50 years, 60 years, because I was in mortgages prior to getting into real estate, variable's always done better, right? But for me, I was always just like, okay, I need some stability. So I'd rather have my debt stable than if my income isn't, right? But what are you noticing with like especially obviously sellers is something you probably don't deal with as much on that side, but buyer's sentiment. Like one of the things you mentioned at the very beginning is that you have a client that's a downsizer and they've done 3 inspections. So that means they've had 3 accepted offers, right? Mm-hmm. Where in 2021, like you didn't even have an accepted offer, mean a firm offer because it was subject free type thing, right? So what are you noticing with your clients these days that's kind of like a big shift from before? And yeah, like also, I don't know if you really get into motivations of your clients and so on and so forth, but what are you noticing the people that are actually pulling the trigger and taking advantage of the crazy prices out there right now?
Yeah, I think we definitely have some more informed buyers, you know, who are spending more time. They're doing their research, you know, they're hiring good realtors, to work with, like all the realtors here at Stonehaus.
Oh, thanks. Shameless plug.
What's that? Yeah. You didn't tell me to do that. That's me. Yeah. No, I owe you guys. Like, I mean, when I first started, you know, it's you guys put your trust in me when I was working for the other guys there, and you know, I still have like good relationships with a lot of the brokers. That's awesome. You know, that used me when I was pretty green. Yeah, right.
Awesome.
But yeah, people are just they're more willing to ask questions. You know, they're asking questions. They're more hesitant. I think, you know, we get into the media spinning everything around to make it like, you know, like doomsday.
Yeah.
You know, like the market's going to crash. It's never going to be good you know, I feel like people are kind of like opening their eyes and really listening to, you know, people other than the media, like their realtor, like the inspector. We always tell people, like, you got any questions whatsoever from the time you call our office, even if you book with us or not, you know, you see something, you're unsure of something in the house, you know, give us a call. We'll help out. But definitely, like, you know, the added services, you know, with regards to people doing research, is like people, they want to know like what the air quality is like. They want that sewer scope done to make sure that little Johnny hasn't stuck his GI Joe
Yeah.
down there, you know, or there's grease down 30 feet down the line that is slowly backing up.
Yeah.
You know, people, they want to know.
And when you notice your buyers right now, because obviously majority of your business, I'm sure, is still buyers, right?
Yes.
Are you noticing like a specific demographic that you're working with more often? Like, is it downsizers, first time home buyers, upsizers? Is it the same as 2021, just less? Like, what are you noticing? Like, obviously, I feel like it's more of like the motivated people that have some reason, like a real reason to buy, other than the fact that, oh, I would like a bigger place, but they're like, no, I have a 2-bedroom and I have 6 kids. I need a bigger place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are you noticing as far as demographics of the buyers out there right now?
I've noticed lots of first time buyers.
Really?
Yep. Lots of first time buyers, people, you know, people getting into the market who've saved a lot of money. Maybe parents have helped them. Now is the time to buy.
Yeah.
Like, just the way that it is. So yeah, we're seeing more of that.
So
as well as people, you know, I think there's still those that are moving out into the valley.
Yeah.
You know, like Langley, Abbotsford, and I find I'm doing more out there. I got one in Squamish. Someone called me to go to Squamish.
Nice.
Squamish next week. Yeah, I'll have to bring my snowboarding gear. Maybe get up to Whistler. The inspection fee will cover the cost.
That's it.
Of the lift ticket.
Of the one lift ticket.
Yeah, the one lift ticket. Yeah.
I think they're $300 now. It's crazy.
But yeah, there's I love working with the first time buyers because they're eager, and you know, they ask a lot of questions.
Yeah. So if you're a realtor right now, is that a demographic that you would recommend going after? You seem to have a lot of them.
Yeah. Yep. Just prepare to speak to them. Like, you know, I mean, if you need to really like gauge where they're at, like what their personality type is, you know, to really get through to them and communicate with them.
Awesome. So out of more or less like one of the last questions I'm going to ask you here, what are, if you're looking to buy a property right now, right? What are some of the, and we kind of talked about those 4 pillars that they need to be really taking advantage or making sure that they look at, get an inspector look at. But if you're looking to buy a property, condo, house, townhouse, whatever it may be, where are some of the areas that you're finding that people are really migrating to, right? Where you're doing a lot of inspection calls. Like you work all over the Lower Mainland, because you mentioned even Squamish, right?
Yep.
Where are you finding that you're having more success with your clients actually finding what they want and kind of going through? Like where are you finding a lot of your population is moving to as far as like cities, towns, etc.?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer, Sean, because we really focused our SEO on the Tri-Cities, you know, and I do a lot of my work there. Although, you know, areas of like Surrey, Langley, around the new SkyTrain, new SkyTrain that they're building, you know, there's people are starting to snatch up places in those areas just because it's got SkyTrain there, and the value should go up.
And even like with the Tri-Cities, are you finding that most of your clients live in the Tri-Cities and are buying in the Tri-Cities, or are they migrating from somewhere else?
A bit of both.
Yeah,
a bit of both. The people that do live there, they are quite loyal.
Yeah,
and they want to stay. They want to stay in that area. But yeah, Langley, Abbotsford. You know,
and are people when like Langley, Abbotsford, Tri-Cities, are they coming from Vancouver or further west, or are they just kind of?
Yeah, mostly. Yep.
So it's kind of like a migration east right now. You're noticing.
That's right. Yeah, I feel it's been that way since 21.
Yeah, especially like Maple Ridge. Like I remember I bought my place in 2019, which most people don't remember, but it was a bit of a dip. Then our interest rates went from like 2.99 to like 4.49 or something like that. Yeah. And that's when the government banned foreign buyers. So a lot of like the Chinese money and so on and so forth kind of stopped flowing in. So there was a bit of a lull there. My place was listed originally at like 2.2. And I picked it up for 1.9, and they built out a suite in it, right? Yeah. And then in 2021, I got an offer for $3 million on it, which is crazy. Which it wasn't even on the market. It's just one of my realtor buddies, like my buddy really wants to move into your area.
It's so nice out here, man.
It is. It's
we rented a place for about 4 years, 2010.
Yeah.
And dude, I took up fishing.
Yeah.
like trail. Mike Lake, I'd go to Mike Lake
Oh,
as
it's
soon as the
great.
gates open.
Yeah.
Got into salmon fishing on this drive down to the Stave,
Yeah.
you know, the Stave. Just like, there's so many cool spots
Yeah.
around here.
It's definitely, I mean, what happened during COVID is everybody's like, okay, well, I got a $2 million condo downtown and I no longer have to go into my office and it's, 1,500 square feet or whatever it was.
Yep.
Or for $2 million, I can buy an acreage with a bunch of land. And most of my work is on Zoom now anyways, because I'm not in the office.
Yeah.
Might as well, right? So
Get the
it's
quad, you know, some dirt bikes, and you're good to
then
go.
you're laughing,
Yeah.
right? Then you're laughing. So I lied. That wasn't the last one. Last question is, so if you were to recommend anything, like if there's any last thing you kind of want to say to both realtors and buyers, sellers alike, what would that be?
Yeah, like I always tell people, there's no bad question, only the unanswered one or the unasked one.
Yeah.
So yeah, like if anyone has any questions, they can always contact our team, contact the office.
Perfect.
Ask for me directly. I'll help them out.
Perfect.
And getting back to, we do have a look for this form, which is basically a template with a date from the 1900s all the way up to 2020, up to 2025.
Yeah.
And a list of all the things that you would find. So like 1900, 1920 knob and tube wiring, 1970 on the aluminum, like we talked about. Whenever I come to the office, I'll bring that in for the group.
That'd be awesome. So we'll put all your contact information below somewhere.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, I'll just leave with like a final thought that this market, obviously as challenging it is, and you've heard it in the news, and it's not a lie, it's 25-year low as far as sales volume. Some places have gone down 30-40%. So it is some crazy pricing out there. But, like Warren Buffett and all the billionaires out there say, this is the time to buy, right? Is when everything else is in fear. And money aside, because money isn't everything, the reality is you want to find a home that you can raise your family, live with, comfortable, enjoy your life, right? Now, the best part of it is you can buy something securely. You can get a great inspector like Mike. You can get your financing and shop the financing out there. You have the opportunity to really buy something with some security backing it, the knowing that what you're actually getting into. Whereas the crazy markets out there, like the 2021s and times in the past that we've had before, like those markets, like you're just looking to get something, you're overpaying in many cases. Right. And the reality is you don't even know what you're buying, right? So take advantage. I tell this to my clients all the time. And I love that you brought up that you've had a client that has paid for 3 inspections or going on the 3rd one or whatever it was.
We're discounting them now.
You're discounting?
Yeah. We should save some money.
Well, and that's appreciative, but honestly, that's the best money anybody can spend. Like generally speaking, I'm not doing this to pitch you. If you have your own inspector that you absolutely love and trust, pay that $500 or whatever it is. I'm just using that number, the few $100s each time, because the reality is that that's your only insurance. That's your only kind of more or less guarantee that you're going to know at least majority. Obviously, there's things that come up that may be missed here and there, whatever the scenario is, but this is your opportunity. That $500 could save you 50,000, could save you 100,000, could save you whatever it is. It's an absolute no-brainer.
And we always say you'll have the honey-do list. So there'll be a list of things that you can pass to your husband or your wife if she's the one with the tool belt.
Yeah.
to fix.
Never know. Exactly. Awesome. Thanks again, guys. I hope that helped answer some questions. The reality is obviously we can't go over every single possibility of what can happen, but that's why you have professionals like Mike. I recommend it 10 out of 10 times. Even like I said, as a guy that, has under contract 800 listings coming up for pre-construction,
nice.
I can tell you this, that if I was on the opposite side, there's never a time, even on something brand new, that I don't get inspected, just because for a few $100, you're saving yourself potential time, headache. And let's get real, it's expensive to buy these days, and it's expensive to move, and it's expensive to do everything else. That $400 could be the best 4 or 5, 600, whatever it is that you ever spend. So, till next time, guys. Thanks again, Mike, for coming out.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on the next one.